Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn II. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about episode 8. Streak continues, I think. A little bit of a quiet episode, but still so much fun stuff going on. A challenge that I usually love that they've elevated. Now I care about the challenges. I'm annoyed at Australian Survivor for doing this to me. But to talk about this fun episode, I have my Monday night recap guest. As always, my co-host. It is a great Puya. Puya, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Once again, another good ep for us to talk about. Listen, this season has been fun the whole way through so far for me. No episode has really been a dud. Even if the outcomes are more predictable than others in some episodes, I feel like there's still some compelling stuff to dig into, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, since the last time we spoke in that week, last time we spoke, Rich had gone to the Brawn tribe. Then we had the craziness of the graduates forming and Ali going. Then we've had the swap and all the insanity of now this new Brawn tribe really taking the mantle of being the crazy tribe with all of the intrigue. There's been a lot going on.
And it's been very fun for us because we get to break it down.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I thought this was a really fun episode. Do you love this challenge as much as I do? What is so satisfying about them taking the pegs out of the holes? I'm sorry, I'm being JLP now. But then with the coconuts, and then it added an element of strategy of you try to go for certain numbers versus just the output of taking out the coconuts. And then we had Paulie hanging by a thread or by a peg. It was so entertaining, I thought.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the added element of having people target specific coconuts to work that. I think it added a lot of intrigue seeing, wow, all you really need is to get rid of 3 of them, and then you've kind of eliminated 2 people because they can't stand on anything. I feel like that's compelling. And I also like seeing because this is a challenge I cannot do. I don't think that would be good in this challenge. I wouldn't excel on the wall holding on for dear life.
No. Oh my
But it's
god.
fun
I'd
seeing
drop in
other
1
people.
second. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Well, they've done this a few times, with the peg challenge. It was the individual challenge. I think the first time might have been the Jura removal in 2017, and then they made it a pairs challenge for some rewards, like the spa reward, I remember, in 2019, and I've always really liked it because for some reason I find them taking out the pegs really satisfying, and there's how you maneuver around that. And I don't know if they've done it in this team version before. I'd have to think about whether they've kind of done it, because this team version had an element of shoulder the load to it, but then there was also the physical component of hitting out the right coconuts if you could. But it's okay, I'm actually going to target that person and that specific peg, which we kind of see with shoulder the load. Okay, put weight on that person. So it had that strategy. It had obviously the physical capabilities of hitting the coconuts, and then it also had the fun endurance style aspect of it as well. So I think we've really seen in this season, and what Australian Survivor does really well is the versatility of the tribal challenges are really, really great. So ticks across the board on that.
Yeah, I would have definitely hard agree with that. I feel like I like the element I enjoy the most here is the idea that, oh, the person next to me could probably outlast me, so let me step down and give them the extra pegs to use if they need it. I think that's also a fun thing to see play out. And we didn't see it happen this way, but I like the idea that at some point someone feel like, wow, is this person throwing because they moved? It's no, they were helping this person out. That's what was happening. So we didn't see that, but I do like that there's layers to it. And I feel like when a challenge can have layers to it, it definitely makes it a lot more interesting. This is why people like a touchy subjects challenge or challenges that can have more impact than just in the moment you get immunity or not. It's more than immunity that could be at stake.
Yeah, it was. I mean, look, I've spoken about a challenge for the first few minutes of this podcast, so you know that it had an impact because that's not me. But there was some interesting strategy as well. You mentioned challenge throwing. Let's talk about the person who I think was the main character of this episode. He was doing a lot. This is AJ, obviously. He was doing a lot. I don't know how much we're going to agree or disagree with it. Let's get into it. Let's the laundry list of what AJ is doing. I mean, he's at the center of the tribe. He does divide the brawns, and they do a very good job of that, by themselves. Kristen has gone over with Ursula, so it's a full 2-2 now. He's courting both. He's brazenly telling them the same thing. He's telling them he's going to decide a tribal council. There's nothing they can do about it. He's calling them hostages. He's saying he's going to go, as we see tomorrow on the mat in the next time on, that he's going to actively put them out as hostages to try get the other tribe to throw challenges. What did you think about what AJ was doing in this episode?
Too much. I think AJ was doing too much. I've liked AJ so far. I feel like he has a good mind for the game. He knows, he understands, he has good reads, the ins and outs. He understands where the pulse of the game is. But this is too much. I think that I like the idea, right? I like the idea of the understanding that, we are in a 4-4, but it really is a divided 4 on their side. That's good for us. And also the ultimatum of, if you get rid of us, or if you keep beating us, we'll just keep taking them out. But I don't think it needs to be vocalized. I don't think it needs to be said. I think saying it only makes you look arrogant, and then makes you have to be the villain on that side and the villain on this side, because now you're like a tyrant. And I think that's a horrible spot to be in. We're going to definitely see some former brains be like, or former, not former, but still brains on the other side be like, hey, so he doesn't care about us because he knows they'll vote us out. That makes no sense to me. So now when they get back together, that relationship is going to be severed or weakened. And then on this side, if the people survive here, do I think that any of the original bronze here that make it to emerge or the next swap with him will be like, yes, Father AJ, thank you so much for helping us and using us as bargaining chips for your game? No, I think they're going to be looking at him sideways. I think even his own tribe mates that are from the original brain right now are looking at him like, bro, you're doing too much. Like, we literally saw a tribal words being uttered that said, yeah, I'm all about releasing the hostages and just winning immunity. Why isn't that not on the table? And I think that is a very sound argument.
I think that, to be fair, to defend AJ, because I come in here higher on AJ than you. I feel like,
Yes.
is it in, yeah, I mean, you're low on it. Is it intense? Yes. Is it too intense for this season? Maybe, and that is a high bar. Like, to be fair, we are in a season where people will just say things at tribal council, will just say things on the mat, and I really appreciate the way the JLP will throw out a question at tribal council that's like, wait, how are we even taking hostages because it's 4-4? Like, something like that that's direct, that's going to get these people to sing like canaries when they don't really even need any help doing it, because they're going to do it in every public forum that they have. And that's how brazen he's being, to be fair, in a very brazen season. So that's the first part of it. On the hostage plan, firstly, I understood what he was putting down. Like, I picked that up because I feel like everyone else is like, well, it's antisocial with the Brawns being Paulie and Noonan. I don't see it that way. I don't know that Paulie and Noonan see it that way, because the point that he is making is like, they all want to win the challenge, right? And like, just looking at it, they're against 5 former Brawns. They're against this pretty strong group that's been winning so far. You have to have other plans that aren't just like, we're going to win. Okay, we want to win, of course. If we could just win, like, yes, but like, maybe we don't trust in that, and we need something else. So it's something that actually would benefit all of them, and mostly benefit the Brawns on the bottom, who could be in the firing line like a Paulie and Noonan. So he's doing it for their communal benefit, and if anything, for the Brawns' benefit. So I got what he was trying to say in that. Everyone's like, Karen's like, basically you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. I didn't see this as vinegar for the Brawns. I saw it as a communal plan for the tribe to win challenges, which behooves all of them. And I see it that way. The issue is it's very close to home because they are voting out the Brawns, and it did require this Brawn sacrifice, but of someone who was not aligned to the 2 that they're going to stick with. So there's definitely some issues in what's going to happen to the Brains on the other side, but I see what he's trying to do for this tribe, like, as a starting point.
So I obviously hear that argument, and if everyone is truly looking at it as a communal plan and they're like, you know what, let him be the figurehead, that's better for me. I like that. But I think the issue I have is that in the event that you try the strong arm hostage thing, that you're caught, I think branding it as a hostage thing is bad. If you're going to pitch
it, George did
yeah,
2 seasons ago. Yeah.
I've taken prisoners. How are you going to like, that is a tough sell. And if the Brains on that side are like, bro, what? No. And then the Bronze are like, who's this guy? No. And they go for it and win again. Then doesn't matter how Noonan and Paulie feel about it. They're going to be in a tough compromised position, because what's AJ going to do? Flip on for a former Brains, which he could, but he's going to piss off one side for sure. Because even if one Bronze survives that, I think I don't think they're going to go work with AJ. They're going to go work with other people that did not call them a prisoner for 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that the prisoner thing is offensive to Paulie and Noonan. I think he's doing it for Paulie and Noonan. I think there's a couple of issues. The issue is, firstly, that everyone's taking it badly. Like his brain's allies aren't liking that approach. Even though I understood it, the fact that they're not getting it is unfortunate for AJ. I think the second part is like, I think this is why he wants to be so direct about it. He already tried to like whisper it to Ben, but he's, you know, where he's against the purple bronze, the 5 purple bronze, that's who he's communicating to. Like, we don't know how much they would be into doing something like that. From what we're hearing from someone like Ursula as an example, you know, Brawns like to win, that we know. They're not necessarily the most strategic who are going to think about doing this. And there are some pitfalls possibly with, you know, going to tribal council. We do see this, even if it's about saving allies on the other side. And we often see people throw challenges at a swap to save their allies. Like, you know, if the brains on that side band together and aren't as fractured as we know they are, they have an idol, then the other side can't split. So it's not like a perfect situation for those brawns, and it could be, you know, a little bit scary than just like winning out to the merge, which is something you might want to do. They might want to also create relationships with those brains as well. Like, they have their stuff going on and you don't have enough information as well. So I do see that, like, maybe again, like, they just don't throw, which it seems like a likelihood. And then you've put this out there, you've pissed off your brains on the other side. You're going to have to get rid of these brawns eventually anyway. So it's definitely risky. And I do think, like, he's risking seemingly Miles more than anyone. We can see that Miles is really like at the bottom of that tribe. Even Zara is turning against him. There was some unfortunate stuff for Miles here. So that is, you know, the way that he would kind of throw like a Miles under the bus, and possibly a Zara. Like, he doesn't care about Laura and Max definitely as much. I mean, he could have stuff with Max maybe, but like, we know there's been a fracture. He'd probably be happy to replace those people with like a Paulie and Noonan. But yeah, it's unfortunate for Miles. My thought, if I was trying to think like AJ, I'm like, to be like AJ, you have to think like AJ. What do we think that if they do throw or lose a challenge the other side, do we think an idol's getting passed over to Miles? And it's like, hey, use this, consolidate as brains, and maybe we like try and etch back a brains majority on that side, because AJ has an idol that he could do that with. I do kind of wonder if it's that, or he's just fully letting the Miles and the Zaras on the other side go, and he's like investing in these new relationships. But I do wonder, the way he's playing, and it's so big, if he would be thinking to pass an idol to at least protect Miles in the short term, and maybe actually like flip the power dynamic in what is currently technically a 5-4, but like really we know like a 5-2-2 or a 5-3-1, or like everyone against Miles.
I mean, that's not a bad shout if he was to pass it over to Miles and have Miles get safety. The question is, does he know that Miles is in a tough spot?
Well, he knows
like
he's
out
a
of
brain
the group.
right. Yeah.
But I think if he was to pass his idol, it would make sense that Miles would be the recipient of the 4. So I definitely do see that. I think the other thing for me, though, in this AJ discussion is that AJ is the one, and remind me if I'm wrong, AJ is the one that's like, yeah, no, let's go Ursula this round. And then we look at Paulie next.
Yes.
I think if you're trying to do this strat and you're trying to curry favor with your fellow brains to do it, give them the one they wanted. And I think the one they wanted was the right call, because you are guaranteed a severed 2 in Noonan and Ursula.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They're never working together. So you have no worries. Whereas right now, Paulie and Noonan are a 2, and they can if they find another pair in this group that is willing to ride with them, you just screwed yourself. So that would have been the better move.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely, okay, so I see both sides. Firstly, AJ is the squeakiest wheel for these brains. Like, they don't even know that he was going to flip on Logan yesterday, let alone what he was pushing with Rich. They don't even know that. But let alone just in this conversation, all 3 want Ursula to go, and he wants Paulie. Sorry, I've changed it. All 3 want Paulie to go, and he wants Ursula. It's early for me. It's like midday, but it's fine. He wants Ursula, and Ursula goes. He gets his way. So again, I have to credit that. But then it's like, maybe this is why the other brains aren't loving his plans, because he's really like assumed full control. He says he's going to abuse the power. Those are literally the words that he uses. He gets what only he wants individually, when the others want the different outcome of taking out Paulie. Now, in terms of the Ursula versus Paulie decision, it's an interesting one. It's basically like, Ursula's going to be a number, maybe even a goat. Can Ursula win the game? I don't think so. Is she going to screw you? Does she have the capabilities to do that? I don't think so. Can she unintentionally be a headache for you, like we've seen her be for Braun? Not that it wasn't unfortunate that they were splitting on her, and I understand, you know, her issues with that. In saying that, she is someone who would just like, you know, even against her own best interest, you know, throw it out there publicly. They said she's been emotional. She didn't flip to the Brains yesterday, but she also didn't stay with the Brawn. She's given the other side so much ammo. So she's a number for you. She's possibly doing that, against your side, not even intentionally. That's like her issue as a liability, but she's certainly like a better number to drag through, who's not going to be a threat to you compared to the Paulies and Noonans of the world, who are threats. He thinks rightly that there's an idol there. They have this monolith of purple bronze on the other side. Like, if they get back to emerge, they're real winner contenders, not just on the edit, like they can really do things. So they're the threats, but they also are workable allies. Like, they're strategic possible partners. They're people you can, work with long term, who are going to be, and not that Noonan hasn't made her mistakes, but they're people who are going to meet you on a level, and work with you through the next months of the game. And the thing is, if the Brains are united, I think you want like an Ursula number. But they're not united. Like, AJ has wanted new relationships, and I don't begrudge him that. There's still so much game to play, and there is not like a warm, cozy brain home to bring a Ursula into and try and beat these Brawns. Like, it has to be more complex than that. It has to be more layered than that. Like, he needs to use and get into the possibility of Paulie and Noonan's power. So I actually do see it. I do see keeping Paulie and Noonan. I think it's, again, more risky. That's the way that AJ will play. But I think it has more potential. And I think that his options to this point have been limited by the chaos of the Brains. And this adds to those options, rather than like Ursula's a more conservative choice, but it barely adds to the limited options that he has. I feel like this kind of like widens the scope for me.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this progresses the story of AJ. I think the Paulie and Noonan thing is 100% true in that keeping them both being in, they have a lot of options. They have a lot of places they can jump in the event that they make it out of this tribe alive. And I think that is better for them than it is for AJ. Whereas for AJ, if it was a standalone Noonan and a standalone Ursula, I feel like Ursula doesn't have many places to go. I think Ursula has kind of sabotaged Ursula by being unwilling to look past that early vote in the early game.
She would say,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And like that has been so much clouding Ursula's mind that I think that
her entire game was just like Noonan, which is hilarious. Like her entire, literally her entire game was that, which is also funny because it's the only divide we pretty much know about from Brawn, and it's just like upended all the Brawns here.
And now that's done. That story's over.
Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting as well, because as you said, keeping that division in is a good shout, surely. Like, look at how helpful it was here when Noonan had been a target yesterday. Like, they were looking to take that division out. And again, like, to be fair, yesterday they might have wanted, they were attaching possibly, if they were going to go that way, to like Ursula's Noonan vote for the 5 in 9. So I do see that, because Ursula was going to have a lot of power, like as a swing here. If they go for like a Paulie, for example, and they go for Logan, it's like a 4-1 and Ursula's deciding. So instead they're like attaching to the Ursula vote on a 5-4. But if they take out Noonan, maybe the 4 get together here with Rich. It seems like everything else was like surmountable, and maybe even the fact that Kristen has voted against Noonan here, I do still think that they could rise above it, and that keeping in that division is a good thing, and they've gotten rid of it, but they also do have like a clear majority now. So I see it, but I don't know if that's like why this is just for AJ. Like, AJ wants to work with Paulie and with Noonan. For everyone else, I mean, Paulie's the one coming up with the plans to come for them, even though Ursula's the one who says Karen's name. Paulie is, again, a much more agent threat. Ursula's, again, not as much of a threat, and they're not working with Paulie to the extent we see AJ doing it. So I think for everyone else, they were right that Paulie should go, but they don't get their way on it, and this is the issue with AJ in their group.
I could see Paulie being AJ's demise. I really could. Now, that obviously hinges on this idea that they don't lose the next one and Paulie doesn't go immediately, but we'll see.
Well, that's the issue, is that it's interesting for AJ. It's like he is keeping these threats in the game, and I do think that the issue could be that they keep losing. He's invested in Paulie and Noonan. They do eventually have to go, or he has to upend all his alliances to side with them in some way. Maybe try and take out like a Logan. He starts whittling down even the options he has, and he's put out that hostage plan, turned off Brains on the other side, and just is left with nothing. It's definitely a risky plan. You know what's a risky part of this plan as well that I thought was so interesting? Like leading Paulie to keeping the idol that he thinks that Paulie has. This was a bold move and probably the thing I disagree with the most. I do probably disagree with the overall intensity and like level of aggression. Even if I think it's like roughly at the speed of the season. I'm not like super on board. I just like credit that he's getting a lot done. But I think that with the idol, it was so interesting because so he like Paulie doesn't play it. And he's like, I'll let you know. And he uses that to build trust. But for me, I'm like, you kind of want an opponent, such a threatening opponent, to lose an idol, surely. And like it all comes down to him and like that trust. And I guess leading Paulie there, I would just, let it go. Paulie's probably going to play the idol in that spot. Great, flesh it out. Even if they think, okay, we could split down the line on like a Paulie and Noonan with our 4, you never know how the numbers are going to go. And Paulie's so threatening. So to like actively be the one to lead Paulie to keeping the idol, I would just like let sleeping dogs lie, not be a part of that. And if he plays it, great. We've just weakened someone who is very, very threatening, who has an idol opposing me. And I'm not like a part of that. Instead, he makes himself like the key person in an opponent or an ally, but to be a threatening ally, keeping an idol, which I don't think is necessarily what you want.
Yeah, I think, if you're playing the game and you have more allies than you can count, that's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing because you have a lot of options. Bad thing because almost every vote out could be you losing an ally. So you have to be content with the allies you lose. So if you are marinating a Paulie in that, hey, if I feel like it's your name, I'll tell you so you can use your idol so you can be safe. And then you don't do that. Yes, you're currying favor, but you better hope that Paulie's not taking out an ally that you did not want to see leave next. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you have your ally power ranking, you're hoping that best case scenario, Paulie snipes your least tied ally. Worst case scenario is that exact same idol that you used to curry favor gets out your number 1 pick. And then you're in a tragic state.
Yeah, it was a lot to give that to Paulie. And can we talk about this for Paulie? I was like, just play it, just play it. I was, my heart was racing. I'm not even Paulie. Like, I can't even imagine it being Paulie and being in that situation. Do you know what Paulie's Instagram handle is?
No.
It's at Paulie Balls. So I've been thinking, what's at Paulie Balls? And now I don't have to wonder anymore. I saw it tonight. That was at Paulie Balls. Not playing that idol in that moment where we know that AJ is telling them the same thing. And you're one of 2 possible targets and you can't trust these brains. So to be fair, you voted together on Rich last time, but like you've been caught scheming today and you're trusting someone who we know is so duplicitous and he doesn't play the idol. I was like, I don't even know if that's good. Like, was it too risky? But like he reads it and it works and he didn't need it and he keeps the idol. But I was just like, I was stressing for him.
I think that it's good because it's a situation where if I leave, I leave. If I don't leave, Ursula's leaving and I wasted my idol and I'm going next. If I leave, that's fine because I would have left next anyway if I played my idol correctly. You know what I mean? So it's almost like if I use it, it's guaranteed to keep me safe for one more round and then I go next anyway. Or now I use it for the next one and then I'm safe one more. And by then maybe we swap back or we merge or something. There's like more options out there for me. So I'm not too mad at the idea to not use it here. Granted, would I be content with leaving? No, I would rather guarantee the one night stay as opposed to the let me predict that I'll survive 2 more as opposed to 1 more. But it's gutsy. It's gutsy, but when the result is, okay, it's going to be Ursula going, I'm fine. I'm fine to not wait, quote unquote, gamble and then waste it on Ursula leaving anyway. If I'm going to use it, I want someone that I would not be on the board to go home kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a big move. You're not going to like upend any power structures. It's defensive. But I was just thinking like you just to make sure you see tomorrow. I mean, the thing is like they are a while away from a merge. And that's kind of my issue. Like they do need to upend things. You would hope to use your idol on something more powerful, which they can't because there's no Brawn plan here. And we can talk about that. Like, yeah, for me, I would be using the idol to gain the numbers here. To use it defensively would be very conservative. Like you'd rather just have it like eke you out more days to try and get to a merge. But I just thought about in terms of seeing the next day and then just work it out from there. Like I thought he might be going. I was very, very scared for Paulie today.
So, okay, so let's break down the numbers. So they had 8 people here. Now we're down to 7, right? So with 7, 4 of them are original Brain, 3 are original Brawn.
Brawn.
Of the 3, Noonan and Polly are together, and then Christy is also
Kristen,
there.
yeah. She's by
Kristen,
herself now.
sorry, Kristen.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
flipped from them.
she's on an
She goes
island.
to Noonan.
Yeah,
well, they're
she's
all on an
solo.
island. But yeah,
Right.
she's within that. She's alone. Yeah.
So even if Kristen ends up working with the OG Brains, that's 5 votes. They have 2 options, right? They put all 5 on Polly, or they split 3 Polly, 2 Noonan.
Yeah.
The only way the idol doesn't work is if they do 3 Noonan, 2 Polly, he plays the idol on himself, the 2 of them vote out somebody else. So I think that having the idol is actually huge for this next round, because you could get out a Brain that could derail all the things, truly derail all the things. And who that person is, it's going to depend on what Polly and Noonan think is the best move for them moving forward. But I think that's why keeping the idol to this stage is way better than having used it here, even if he had the majority votes, to have him stay over Ursula, only for him to go out next anyway, with no idol, no dream, no hope.
Well, if they choose to go against Paulie and Noonan and they bring in Kristen, then he is screwed regardless, because they're like, if he splits the vote, one of him or Noonan, well, he'll play it on himself, but Noonan will go home and then he'll be.
Oh my God. Yeah. It'll be a tied vote on the revote. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So, but if they get over Kristen, because if I'm the Brains, I'm doing a 3-vote split of Brains and putting Kristen on the beta, and then if they bring over Kristen, play the idol correctly with Kristen's information on the 3, and then instead of it being a 2 on them, and their 3 comes over the top of a 1. But is Kristen going to do that? I mean, like this is. I think that he's like reliant on AJ. This is the issue, that I don't know that the numbers are ever getting upended unless it's fully pulling AJ over onto like a Logan vote. I don't, and which honestly maybe AJ would, and we can talk about that in terms of this episode. But I think that the issue is, this is why you have to rely on the other side losing challenges, and this is why I wouldn't be offended if I was Paulie and Noonan from AJ's plan, because it's to protect them. You need if the other side are not going to be losing challenges, or going to lose maybe 1 challenge of the next probable 4 until a merge, you're going to struggle. You're going to rely on at some point probably another pre-merge, especially with Zen being Medivac, another pre-merge non-elim. He's relying, like, now you're like just like trying to like just inch your way forward to a merge, and an idol defensively could be helpful in that, but I don't know where the potential is to use the idol to upend something. It's very, very difficult, I think, of where he is currently.
Yeah, I just spent my entire monologue talking about he can use the idol to get someone out with a 3-2-2 vote, not realizing that at a 2-2 revote, they're out. So
well, but
that kind of does get debunked.
Kristen, but if you bring over Kristen, and
bring over Kristen, or someone burns a vote at the wrong spot, like they put the vote on the wrong person, and it's like then it's a what, 3-2-3. Yeah. I'm not doing math at 8 p.m. I'm not doing it.
We're both blaming the time, but it's a very regular time for both of us. It is midday for me, and it is 8 p.m. for you. But
it is. I made the mistake of playing a game that was too mentally taxing today. A
5-2 would be a terrible situation. The hope of relying on an AJ doing something crazy, I think, is the best bet. Bringing over Kristen is a small bet. Using the idol in some way, or just if I'm Paul, I'm thinking 4 votes until a merge. Like, maybe Noonan goes before me, one of them. Maybe Kristen goes before me. Maybe I use my idol correctly. Maybe they win. We win a challenge or 2. Maybe the non-elim. Like, it's very dicey. It's like he's hanging on by the peg again. I don't know if he's ever getting power. I think he's, just like, inching towards the finish line. I think that's how I see it. I think it's very, very tough, because it was a tough swap. And because, let's talk about his Brawn group. He tried, right? He tried to do this here with the group. So, okay, to play this out, because there's a lot of arguing about who said what. He is honest in the tribal council. Like, it was Paulie's plan. We see Ursula say Karen's name first. We don't actually see, Noonan's there for none of that. We don't even see Ursula tell Noonan Karen's name, but obviously she did. What we see originally is, Paulie's like, we should work together. And Ursula says Karen. There's a lot of damning information there. I thought they would do it. And then when Noonan turned around, I was like, oh my God. What did you were you on board with Noonan throwing Ursula under the bus here, or did you feel like maybe they should try something as a group to get actual numbers and not just like possibly survive to emerge if everything goes right through like, stepping stones to that point?
No, I think at this point, if I'm in the Noonan spot, I'm cutting my losses and hoping for the best. Because when we saw that whole debacle with the you rolled your eyes at me saga coming back to rear its head, at that point I was like, okay, we're not moving past this. We're never moving past this. I'm constantly gonna have to apologize for the sins of 16-day ago me. And that's not gonna be conducive of a good relationship, especially because this beach is giving you ample time to make new bonds going into the merge. Bonds that are not severed, bonds that are not going to be constantly under question. So it makes sense to roll the dice. Obviously, in the game of Survivor, staying alive and having people is good, especially, the devil you know versus the devil you don't. But when the devil you know keeps writing your name down, I'm sorry, there's nowhere you can go from here. There just isn't. You just have to cut the losses. I truly understand why that they couldn't make that plan work. I really do.
Wow, I love how much we disagree today because I was so frustrated by Noonan because we're talking now about how limited the options are going forward, about, possibly pulling over someone who's turned against them by using an idol on a split, maybe, trying to get Brawns who love to win to throw enough challenges, maybe getting AJ to do something. This was the moment. If you wanted to actually throw everything at getting numbers, today was the day. And it's kind of a warped prisoner's dilemma because usually in a prisoner's dilemma, best case scenario, like, you betray and you get to win. But the actual win for both of them, the best thing that could have happened for all the Brawns today is to actually get together on some type of plan we can talk about and take out a card and move through with numbers that assure you to get back to your monolith of purple Brawns. And now we're saying it's going to be very, very tricky for probably all of them. We're struggling to see where they cobble together something to get through to that merge, even with an idol for Paulie. So I really felt like this was the plan and the best thing for both of them, for everyone. In a situation where the Brains are like, we don't know who it's going to be and we're going to decide at tribal, like, working together is the plan. Now, what is that plan? I don't know. I definitely don't think the Brains were splitting the vote, which ends up being kind of their plan for the 4 to come over the top. There's no reason for them to do it. You're definitely putting 4 on one Brawn. They end up with even a kind of quasi split on what could have been Paulie and Noonan, with Kristen and Ursula voting against Noonan anyway. They know Ursula doesn't have an idol. They're fine either way. They're not splitting their votes. But maybe that's where you use the idol and hope for the best on a 4-4. You take it down to the wire. You take your numbers. I mean, are you going to rocks at the stage? Tough to see like a Noonan going to rocks for an Ursula, but like,
yeah, that ain't happening.
Okay, fine. You try use the idol. Try get AJ on a Logan vote. Try get anything. This was the numbers. They're done now. Like now we'll see who manages to like possibly survive to the merge with all of the caveats we've put in, with all of the possible outs, which are so limited. Like, this was the time. And I definitely understand Noonan's fear, but and I definitely understand that within this prisoner's dilemma, if Ursula goes to them first, now you've just been the one who looks like, oh, you didn't go to them. Now you're the untrustworthy one, and you're trying to like gain favor with these brain overlords. But her read was wrong. Ursula tells us in confessional she was going to do it. Paulie and Kristen lied to the Brains on their behalf. Everyone else was in. It was very conservative, I think, to put it all on that fear, and it would have been a risk to put in that trust, but it was like the only chance they had of making it out. And I don't know how many of these Brawns make it to the merge now. And I think that they had to go for broke, and this was the time. And they had like a loss yesterday based on Ursula again, and had to lose a number in which you wanted to work with them, and had to like salvage everything that they could in that situation. And I think this was the time, and they lost an opportunity. And now we're thinking it's going to be very, very dire for them going forward.
Shannon, we've seen in the history books, as recent as last year, gambling on oneself, voting out somebody that you could work with, that could be a number for you, and opting into the idea that you can bet on yourself and gamble on yourself to get yourself out of that situation. I feel like for Noonan, again, where did Ursula vote the night prior and this night?
Noonan.
Exactly. I don't think there was any realm where she can trust that number in Ursula.
But she could have. She was wrong. Ursula was going with it.
So here's the thing. Ursula goes with it, right? They somehow work it out, the maths, they get out, let's say Logan, right? Logan goes.
Yeah, well, they were
The
saying
next
current.
day, if I'm Noonan, I think Ursula goes directly to those 3 brains and says, listen, that was me getting safety for me. I'm with you now. Noonan goes next. You
Do
have
it
to
next
imagine,
then.
huh?
But then be that person to do that. Then at least you've saved a round where you can do that, and then maybe you push Ursula under the bus so that she goes next time. Like every round you can save is a win. When we're saying that they're relying on non-elims possibly to get to emerge.
I think Noonan's personality is definitely on display in this season, and I think Noonan can work people over. Like I think Noonan also has safety in that she isn't Polly. They're looking at Polly next. So Noonan has
I
some
looked at Noonan
time.
yesterday.
They're overlooking Noonan, I think, more
It's
than
true.
anything. But that's the thing for me. I just feel like banking on the prior relationship with Ursula, when Ursula's not let it go, is a no sell at that point. Because obviously there's 4 combinations of people with this swap, right? There's the original Brawn here, original Brawn here, original Brain here, original Brain here, and they are all mix-ups of people that may have been working against each other that are coming together and working together, right? And I feel like we're seeing the brains do that to perfection. And this combination of Brawn, this was the wrong combination of Brawn. If you take out Ursula and put anyone else from the Bronze
Yeah,
on the other
literally.
side in,
Literally
then this
anyone.
argument you're making, I'm with you 100%. This is the one person that I don't
It's so
agree this
funny.
should be the move.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just funny for them that if any single one of those purple brawns replaced Ursula, and
Any.
even possibly Noonan, I think Ursula maybe even having been on the bottom could work. She's fine with
She
Paulie.
could let it go,
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. Like this was the one divide we had heard about in an otherwise pretty boring tribe, other than the Nash of it all,
Mm-hmm.
and it absolutely screws them. I just feel like this was their only opportunity, and it's gonna get so dire. And at the end of the day, they're all just like falling over themselves to appease people who are like, well, we'll tell you a tribal council. It's just such a bad situation. And the brains are also going to decide who they want anyway. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even with Noonan going back, there was so much damning information on either side that they immediately read that, AJ reads that it was Paulie's plan anyway. Like, even with Noonan going back, she actually dooms Paulie a little bit. Like, they read that was Paulie's plan. They were in this kind of situation where there was this like mutual destruction because there was information from both of them. So in giving that information, it wasn't just against Ursula. She really gives information out that where Ursula can come back and be like, give her side against verifiable information or like seemingly truthful information against Paulie. So the brains are going to decide anyway. Like what? So okay, the 4 brains vote for Ursula, and they haven't voted with you. 2 have voted for Noonan, and the 2 of you
Mm-hmm.
tried and you voted for Karen. It's still a 4-2-2, And if they decide that they want to vote Ursula, she's gone home anyway. And yes, that looks really bad tomorrow, but you gave it a shot. You know what I mean? Like their 4 is still probably going to rule the day unless you have a whole full 4 against them. And if your 4 doesn't work, then that 4 will still decide. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense? So like, okay, you tried.
Yeah.
Like it's more about how you look tomorrow. I understand that, and I understand that if they voted out Ursula, say, but you instead of voting 2 votes on Ursula, making it a 6-2, voted 2 votes on Karen, like now you're dead tomorrow. But for the hope of the 4 of you doing something and like throwing everything at it, throwing an idol at it, even trying to bring in AJ, it's a terrible plan. I'm not saying that this is a good situation. I'm saying they're in a terrible situation, and it's probably the best bet they had at like a key juncture. And I think I would go for that because I think they're in such a dire position right now. And I think that, yeah, the brains are going to decide either way. And you've even given ammo against your own side. You haven't even really gained that much by going to them first because they're going to game out and find information that still dooms your side because Paulie was such a big part of that plan with Ursula. So it's just everyone just fighting about who can be like the best teacher's pet with the brains. Ironically, the teacher's not even on their side. And for what? For people who are like, well, we'll tell you a tribal if you make it. Like, make a move. I don't know. It's not a good plan. The 4-4 is not a good plan, but it's better than nothing, I think. Like, they're in a bad spot. Yeah.
2 things. One, I'm okay with it because I like the brains more anyway, so I'm biased.
We like
2,
Paulie and Noonan, surely.
yes,
Yeah.
of course. But I think if it's their 4 versus this 4, I know which 4 I'm backing. I think the other thing for me is it's not like they're done. They have, if they truly want to do it, there are little bits of crumbs they can make a meal out of here. Number one is the thing we've already talked about, which is the whole, hey, if you need your idol, I'll tip you off as far as using it. Because if you let the other brains know, hey, this man, if I had an idol, he could have had me burn it. He said no because he's working with me. He wanted me to keep my idol. Why would he want me to keep this hypothetical idol that I don't have to get rid of one of you, right? That's kind of messed up if you ask me.
I like it. If he doesn't flip with you, you could burn AJ. That's a pretty good out. It saves a round. Quite like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been
like
a very squeaky wheel. Yeah.
Yeah. There's all like AJ is giving you so much ammo that as much as it is a helping hand, it can also be used as a shovel to bury him with if you really wanted to do that. Add in, because obviously the only time this season we've seen someone pass an advantage to the others, it was the most unsubtle thing in the world where Rich was seen by everyone at the island and in the continent passing an advantage over to Max. So if AJ, let's play a scenario. If AJ goes to give an idol to Miles or somebody else and does it a little sloppily, there we go. That's also another bit of information you can put out there. I think AJ can be painted as a double dipper. And I think if you do that, you could buy yourself some time or at least put some doubt in their heads and buy yourself some time moving forward. I think even at worst case scenario, you could use this to push Kristen ahead of you. I think that's definitely possible.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we've done this has been good. We've written out a list of what Paulie Noonan can try to do to survive. And
all of this just for them to be the next two out.
Well, we're trying out. This is the good about the episodic recaps. We're in the thick of it right now with them. And let alone the fact that AJ was, doing, talking to them about flipping the day before. So what are the options we have? How can they survive? Possibly up to 4 tribal councils, possibly, assuming that they want to merge on a Sunday night to get through. 1, maybe one of them goes, but it's not you. Like if Noonan survives and Paulie doesn't, and the other one goes. 2, push Kristen in front of you. 3, try and flip AJ fully and get Kristen back. 4, use the idol, pull Kristen over on a split vote that fails with your idol because they don't have Kristen on the 5-2 split.
Operation Italy 2.0.
Yes. 5, the Brawns on the other side throw challenges for you. Or you just win some challenges. We also have a non-elim. Did we say trying to pull AJ over? We have pushing AJ under the bus.
There's so many outs, Shannon.
Okay.
There's so many outs.
I hope they get this in the past.
They may have gotten enough to be willing to let go of Ursula. They're like, yeah, we have a lot of outs from here. We'll be okay.
No, they're all tricky, but we have some good ideas. They have to, but I still think the best thing would have been to try and get the power now. It's a very bad spot. I think we've done pretty well.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Should we talk about the rest of it in the chizzy?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Take it away, Jacob Sager Weinstein and MC Color when I get there and go.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
I feel like I don't know what you're gonna do because you're low on AJ and no one, like everyone else. What did everyone else? Like I was struggling. I literally wrote for a while. I don't know, and was like, come back here. Wrote a note for myself. So what are you doing? I'm confused about what you're gonna do.
Well, lead the way, Shannon.
Do you think I should lead the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to do because typically, do you like it when it's like first we both do our 3s, then we both do our 2s, then you just would rather you go all in one than I go all in one?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm breezy.
I'm going to give 3 to AJ. It's a lot. I have to credit the power. He's at the center of everything. He wants Paulie to stay. He gets what he wants. Even though Paulie is caught scheming, like it's that dicey and everyone else is already against him even before that on who they want out, he still gets what he wants. He brazenly tells both pairs the same thing, that he's like trying for them. He tells them he's going to tell them at tribal council. He doesn't get caught out on any of this. His reads were good, also unknowing. Like he's like, let me tell you exactly what happened, and he's right. One man shouldn't have this much power. Is he using it insanely? Yes. But this is almost par for the course in the season. And for this moment, I think I have to credit it. And there's just no one else I can give points to. I've really struggled even for the rest. I'm going to give 2 to someone we barely saw in this episode, and that is Logan. She is someone who was divided from these graduates. You know, that seems like it's really all sorted, and now no one is saying her name. So I've given her 2 for being in this like Brains majority, and you know, like they're saying Karen's name now, and then I guess 1 to Kaylin being in the majority whose name has not been said. And again, like for all of them, including Karen, who speaks with probably the most, but like Karen, Logan, and Kaylin who want Paulie out, I get it. Even though they don't get their way, I think I get it for them. So I'm not criticizing a lot. I have to give an honorable mention to Paulie for not playing the idol. So ballsy. So ballsy. I would do it out of being conservative, but if we're saying that like you need to eke out the next few tribal councils and being risky on those reads, as we're saying, that you can get through with your idol on a read that was correct and in trusting the right thing, I have to credit that in that it was right. And you need it. So, and as you're saying, like it would have been a very defensive way to play it. So if he's hoping to kind of get through and use it in a bigger way, or, you know, die trying, that's what he's doing, and it's worked to this point. So honorable mention to Paulie, I had to bump him down from a point, obviously, because I think they're in a really bad spot. And there were also a lot of negative things said about him that really surprised me. Like yesterday, I gave him 3 points, being like, oh, he's such a sparkly person and everyone loves him and everyone's coming to him. And now we see like Kristen, you know, Paulie showed his true colors. That surprised me. And he loses Kristen in that. Kaylin says he's sneaky. AJ even is like, he's a snake oil salesman. I don't know. We only see AJ say that to Karen. I don't know if he's maybe trying to cover him working with Paulie so much. I don't know how much AJ really thinks that, but Karen agrees, you know. So it seems like there's this perception of Paulie that I didn't know about, and I'm concerned about it. And he, you know, made him a threat over Noonan as a target. So I bumped him down. But those were my points. I'm so interested in where you're going.
Remind me who your 2 and 1s were last night.
Paulie was 3. Oh my God, it's been what happened last night? Rich went home. Paulie was 3. I think. Let me you talk and I'll find it. Can't remember from yesterday. It's like I can never remember the next day's Wordle, the day, like from the day, like the previous day's Wordle. And then every day Marianne sends me a rebus on what the Wordle was. And I'm like, what was the Wordle? And it really concerns me. I'm going to find it. Okay, I've got it up. Yesterday I did 3 to Paulie, 2 to Zara for the lie. That feels like a million years ago, but before they'd swapped. And then 1 to Karen for her position, her original plan on Noonan, which I thought was good. And like the fact that she seems to be well positioned with the brains. Those were my numbers then. Yeah.
So I've wrestled with who gets my 3 and my 2 and my 1 quite a bit. Yeah. I think my 3 has been the same person throughout pretty much, versus my 2 and my 1 have been a little more fluid. So I'm going to go with 1 first. I'm going to give 1 to Karen. I think
that's good because I didn't get to her. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the question of, for you asking me, where do I go with this? I feel like I think the brains have control in this tribe, which is great. But I also think, given that we know AJ is going to become the figurehead and the spokesperson for, I have hostages. It's not the brains have hostages. It's I have hostages. So that puts him in a bad spot. That could potentially put him, all eyes on him, not on the other 3 that are hugely benefiting from this move as well. So I like that for the brains that are not AJ. So I give him, I give Karen the 1. I then have to look at my 3 and my 2. I'm thinking right now, I'm going to give my 2 to, I'm going to give my 3 to Logan. I obviously feel like Logan coming into this grouping, I felt a little scared for. I was like, oh, this ain't the spot you want to be in. These are not the brains you were vibing with. Kudos to her. She's not only settled herself in a nice spot. Once again, we find ourselves in a very similar position, Shannon, where Logan should be talked about, isn't being talked about. I think that's huge. I think that is a testament to her social game. I think even using verbiage that's like, oh, you know, and I would like to be here to learn, you know, when was this tribal where she's like, yeah, I don't know what this person's.
That was yesterday. Yeah.
That was yesterday. But that kind of energy, that's so good. That is so good. And I love Logan. That is, the social game speaks to me, Shannon. I'm a sucker
she looks
for this
like Hillary Duff. I've got so many messages that she looks exactly like Hillary Duff.
I would need to look at that again. I would need to look at her again to see if I see the similarities. I'm giving my 2, and I thought about this hard. I'm giving it to Noonan.
Noonan, after everything, wow, we really disagree in this episode. Every chizzy we fight, Pooh. I don't want this to be our way. I want it. It's like with Noonan and Ursula, and Paulie's trying to, make it better. I don't want it to be this way. It didn't have to be this
This is the good stuff, though. You want it to be more of a discussion and less of a, all right, just copy paste,
Oh,
right?
it's a
better.
discussion. It's a discussion. Yeah.
So here's my thing with Noonan, and hear me out here. Noonan, Ursula's gone. Like, let's put ourselves, Shannon, let's do an exercise where we put ourselves on Survivor, right? You close your eyes, you're on the beaches, you're playing the game, and now your number one hater is on the same tribe as you. And not just that, your number one hater cannot look past anything that has happened between the two of you. You are the focal point of your hater, meaning you can't. And for me, you and I both know how I operate. I will sometimes, if I think of something, I can't unthink that. And if I have my number one hater on the beach with me, in the back of my head, I'm constantly going to be like, is that person still talking about me? Are they still talking about me? Can I move forward? Are they are they going to try and ruin what I have? So losing that hater is huge, because now you can do the whole world is open to you again. You can do whatever you need to do without the worry that at any given point, my number one hater is talking in people's ears and putting my name out there. Doesn't matter how much influence they have or not, right? Because if you say something to people enough times, maybe one of those times it sticks. And you know what? Yeah, Noonan is like this. Let me get her out. So losing that is huge. I think the other side of things is in the duo of herself and Paulie, who's the more threatening contender? All the things that were said, Paulie, not Noonan. I think that gives Noonan enough time, and all the outs we've talked about, the non-elim, the potentially they win immunity or immunity is thrown to them. The more time you give a player like Noonan, I truly believe in Noonan's ability to make connections here. And I'm not too concerned for her right now. Now, obviously, this could all go out the window if Noonan is the next boot and I look stupid. But I think she's earned the 2 points for me in that regard.
Wow. Well, it's interesting that Logan wins this episode's Chizzy when she was barely in the episode. And I do think that speaks to the season, where mostly when people are in the episode, they bury themselves.
They're doing too much.
Staying out. Yeah, staying out of the limelight.
Doing too much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she won 5 points. Out to the OG.
Are we wrong? Well, should Kristen be getting all the points, all 3, 2, and the 1 for that logic?
Well, Kristen was probably more involved in this episode than ever before. So
that's true, which is rare.
And then she lost the vote. So yeah, just stay so quiet. Like, the person who will win the season, I've said it before, the person who just shrinks real down, just real low, so no one can see you. Maybe they forget about you. One of those purple brawns probably has it. That purple brawn monolith.
Being hidden, but then having little impact from the shadows, quiet, subtle. That's the game I love. That's the game Logan's seemingly playing from where I'm standing.
Well, it's crazy to think about how much game someone like AJ has had to play. All of these brains who are on this tribe, who had all of the brain chaos, and have now come over to this tribe, and it's just insanity, versus like a Ben, who got his first confessional in this episode, by the way. I
noticed that.
Yeah.
Wow, 8 episodes in.
Ben, had a lot of the Nash stuff early, which was hard, and then they just voted out Nash, which was easy. That's been it. Compare that to what these brains have gone through, like, a lot of game has been played, and that is probably reflected on the Chizzy charts, to be fair, but it's been crazy.
If we see you, we're going to give you ratings, right? Like, that's really what it is, because if I don't see you and you're not making moves, or your tribe isn't in danger and you don't have to navigate, you're just living a peachy life, then yeah, unfortunately, maybe in the Chizzy points, you're not getting there, but you're making it further in the game. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I think the sweet spot is like a Logan who's definitely been playing, and we've seen that, but then goes back, rather than the people we don't see at all, or the people we see. Like, I gave AJ 3 points to be fair, but like the people we see a lot, often we're like, no, that's actually going poorly. So
yeah, what was the 3 points to Nash, Shannon?
That is not what AJ is doing, and Nash gained nothing. Well, he did win that vote, but like compared to AJ has a lot of power right now. Like, he splits up the brawns fully. Like, they all coming to him.
Is the declaring hostages at Matt chat not the equivalent of wearing the idol in front of everybody a little bit? Just a little bit.
I was going to say it worked for George, but then George also wore the idol in front of everybody. And like, again,
he did
George
both. He was like a hybrid of the two.
It's crazy how much everyone is just like taking from the George playbook. And just one man did all of those things. All of the crazy stuff about this whole cast we're talking about was just one person over, to be fair, 2 seasons. But yeah, I mean, look, if he's going to pair it with an idol play to Miles, I think I know how AJ thinks. And maybe there's something interesting happening here. I don't know. It's a lot. I'm not saying it's not a lot. I'm just saying that from now, it's working, and that's it.
Yeah,
I love that we disagreed though.
Yeah, oh, that's the thing, right? Is that it's coming from a place of respect for me for AJ because I really liked what I had seen from him early on in the season. You know, being in an underdog spot, but recognizing that like I need to make some moves to find a stay and getting that done. But this playing so out in the open with the spotlight on you, I never like when a player wins like this, I'm almost in disbelief because I'm like, that shouldn't work. But then also for Australian Survivor, where the season is 50 some days long, I'm just like, this is day 17, 18. You're going to do this for 40 more days. Like, how is that going to go?
It's just 47 Puya. It's just another
47.
month.
Just almost the equivalent of 2 seasons of US Survivor. Yes, how foolish of me.
Yes.
So,
yes.
and I'm like, you should know better, AJ. You've shown that you know better. It's not even that he doesn't know, right? Because, like, for example, and this is no disrespect to like Kent or to Nash, they didn't show me that they were able to work in the shadows. AJ has. So for AJ to now come out of the shadows, I'm like, no, kick him back in. Get back under the shadows. You do not need to be out here right now.
I think it's pretty clear that he's gone mad with power.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what's happening. All right. If you enjoyed this Australian Survivor podcast, this is the end of the Australian Survivor portion of the podcast. If you don't want to be spoiled on US Survivor and know enough about the draft where we talk about it vaguely and that might spoil you, you can leave now at Shannon Gates, WeKnowGlobalSurvivor.com. Puya, do you want to plug anything at Puyaism?
At Puyaism, twitch.tv/Puya. Check out the Puya and Liana Lounge. Great podcast every week.
Tomorrow, Mike on the recap. Ferris, your fave Puya, this week on the feedback show.
Guy.
Yes.
The person who bet on himself, Shannon, the person who bet on himself, and it worked. And the check cleared.
Is that what happened?
He bet on himself and he won.
Okay. I don't even know whether it's midday for me. It's 8 o'clock for you. There's so much going on at these difficult times. Survivor Global. We had Mark, episode 1. We have Tessa, episode 2. Anyway, that's it. By everyone who doesn't want to, have some brief draft.
What's Ferris recapping? The feedback show?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and a great week for Ferris. So much fun stuff happening. Puya, do you want to momentarily gloat about the draft? I love giving this opportunity to you, Chappell, at the very end.
Oh, Shannon Guss. Oh my God. Listen. I'm sorry, but I'm so happy.
Oh.
I'm so happy. I'm sorry because of how happy I am. Is the reality of it.
I could still win.
You're not winning.
I could.
And put this in the fan cam edit of Shannon when she becomes the 2-time winner if it happens.
Yeah.
Where I look stupid. It ain't happening. I'm not concerned. I'm not scared.
I don't feel great about it, but look, it was a high place to fall from. Heavy is the head that wears the tiara. It was cutting into my circulation. It was made for a child.
What's funny to me is that we have now had 2 up until the 47 draft. We had never had the winner get grenaded the next round, and now we've had 2 in a row, which is wild.
Yes. I mean, Rob was flying high. He had like the best draft ever, and then it went. He also
put himself first. Like that was almost like worse because he looked a little more foolish.
Well, I don't know. I think it looked pretty bad. Puya, I was wearing a tiara. It's still my tiara. I'm still the reigning queen. You still
won. Your name is on the championship for 47. No one can change that story.
The draft is over. I won. It's done. We don't have another draft. It's finished. So I'm so glad that you and Chappell came back to doing the recaps compared, we talked about how that might not be happening. Mike had to.
This softened the blow. It made it easier to come back. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I did it on purpose because I was like, damn it, how am I going to get them to come back to the recaps? And now we have, Mike doesn't have to pull triple duty when you and Chappell. Because I think if one of you got grenaded, would you be here today? I don't know. But.
Here's the thing, right? I can feel a type of way about not getting a player I wanted, but ultimately I had the rest of the board to pick from. And I was like, by the time we got to the last round, I was very happy that who was left because I didn't feel grenade energy from any of them. So I felt fine.
You can usually feel that. You've been grenaded a lot. How many times?
No, I've been grenaded once, Shannon. I saw you call me the grenade king, and I was like, have you learned nothing? I have not been grenaded since 2021.
Yeah, you had both of the first boots in that one. No, you were
It
kicked
was
out
a
of the draft on the
two-boot
first
premiere,
night
okay?
of the
That's
new era. It was
but
a
then I also had
two-boot.
second place. I also had second place. So
Well, that's not
soften the
how it
blow a little
works.
bit.
So you
Well,
had Deshaun.
you'd know, raining grenade over here. You'd know how that works, huh?
I'm reigning grenade, and reigning champion. Anyway. The draft is magic, as I said yesterday with Chappell. I'm glad I gave you your chance to gloat, and I'm glad you were back here to recap this with me. This was a lot of fun, Puya. Thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to the team behind the scenes, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.